Hello, everybody. Welcome to this edition of Coffee Time with Byron. On this episode, we have former 11-year veteran of Major League Baseball, Mickey Morandini, with three teams: Phillies, Cubs, and Blue Jays. So, thank you for joining. Let's get right to it. You were drafted twice. 87 with the Pirates, and as you said, you went back to school, and then you got drafted by the Phillies in 88. What made you decide to go back to school instead of playing with the Pirates?
Yeah, that was a big decision for me. I'm actually from Pittsburgh, grew up a Pirates fan at the time, and obviously a dream come true to be able to get a chance to play for your hometown team. But I had an opportunity to go play in the 1988 Olympics, and to do that I had to go back to school my senior year because the Olympics were at the end of my senior year. So I had to make a choice: do I want to start my professional career or go play on the Olympics? And it was a pretty easy choice for me, actually. You only get one shot to play in the Olympics as far as baseball is concerned, and that's something I didn't want to pass up. So I turned down the Pirates, went back to school, and I was fortunate enough to make the Olympic team in 1988.
So yeah, now that you brought that up, I wanted to bring that up. I saw that you did play, you earned 3 medals, 1 gold in the Seoul Olympic Games in 88. That's awesome in itself. Silver in 88 in the Rome World Cup, silver in the 87 Havana International Cup. What was that experience like with playing with those players and playing for our country?
Yeah, there's no better feeling, that's for sure. When you get to play a game for your country, it's pretty awesome. Now, I tell you what was most fun was competing against other countries. It really was, playing against Cuba, and who was a world-dominant baseball team at the time, and Japan and Italy and Canada and teams like that. It was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it. I'm glad I chose to play in the Olympics, and it's something I'll never forget. And I have a gold medal in my place here, and every now and then I'll pull it out, and that's something I'm very, very proud of.
Any players that were on that? Any players that you played against for any of those teams made it to the majors like you did? Raul Cormier, who recently passed away at a very young age, but he was on Team Canada. Mm-hmm. Now, Cuba, they had a lot of really, really good players, but they were a lot older than we were, but they weren't allowed to come over here to play ball. They had to stay in Cuba. And at the time, to be honest with you, when I was playing in the big leagues, there weren't really a big number of Japanese players that came over. So really the first one I remember was Hideo Nomo, was one of the big first Japanese player to come over here. So there were a lot of Japanese players, but I didn't play against a lot that made it to the big leagues, but I know I played against a lot of really good baseball players around the world, that's for sure. So where exactly were you, and who contacted you when you were drafted by the Phillies in 88? Because I know, like you said, you wanted to play with your Pirates because they're your hometown team, but you get that call close to home and get drafted by the Phillies. What was that experience like, being close to home and actually getting to play for a team close to your home?
Yeah, it was the draft back then was a lot different. Now, there wasn't any national attention to it. Really, the only ones you knew who got drafted on the first day were the first rounders. Mm-hmm. They were usually announced and was shown on TV and stuff. But after that, it actually took about a week for me to get a call. I went in the 5th round my senior year, and it took about a week for me to finally get a call to see who drafted me and when I got drafted. I got drafted in the 5th round, and the scout was named Tony Lucadello, and he was a big name because he's the one that drafted Mike Schmidt. He signed Mike Schmidt, so I was in good company there. But got the call from the Phillies, and I was just ready to start my professional career, but I had to put it on hold because of the Olympics.
Right.
And the Phillies were gracious enough to let me go play in the Olympics before I started my professional career. But I was just excited to get drafted. Now, obviously, growing up a Pirates fan, I kind of missed on that opportunity. But like you said, I got to
to play for a team that really was a Pirates rival back in the day. Those two teams back in the day really did not like each other at all, especially in the late 70s and early 80s. They went at it pretty good. So I didn't really grow up a Phillies fan, but now I'm a huge Phillies fan, and I bleed red, and I don't even consider the Pirates a baseball team anymore. They're so bad every year. So they got some issues over there.
They need a lot of help.
Yeah, it worked out good for me. It worked out good. I got to the big leagues fast through the Phillies organization and got to play 11 years in the big leagues, so I'm not complaining one bit.
So what was the atmosphere like when you were here in Florida in spring training in Clearwater? Now, you played at the dump that was... Jack Russell, yeah. You played at that dump. And now looking back at it to what it is now to where they're playing at now, don't you wish you had a field like that back when you were playing? That nicer field?
Absolutely. Yeah, it was the field was okay. It was just in a really bad area of Clearwater.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously the facilities have come a long, long way. The minor league ballparks are so much better now, and the big league parks they're gorgeous and open, and you can see the cities behind and things like that. But I really wish I got to play in CBP. I hung it up a couple years before CBP was built, so I didn't get a chance to play there. But I did get a chance to coach there, so I guess that's the next best thing.
So when the Phillies won that 2008 World Series against us, the Tampa Bay Rays, did you know that year that they were going to go to the World Series and possibly go back-to-back against the Yankees in 2009?
In 2008, I wasn't sure because they weren't the most talented team. I mean, they were good, but they still had some growing up to do, I think. And their pitching staff was just okay that year, because they had to rely on Moyer and some other guys that didn't have a lot of experience, Blanton, those types of guys. The 2009 team was really good, and the 2010 team was off the charts. I mean, they really should have won in 2010. They by far had the most talented team in baseball, and unfortunately, they ran into a really hot team and a really hot pitcher in Carpenter. But in 2008, it was just, they got hot. Anytime you come to Philadelphia, and that's when they were selling out every game. I mean, I think they had over 300 straight sellouts from like 2007 to 2011 or something like that. So anytime you come to Philadelphia, you know you're going to be in a dogfight. And they got on a roll. They played really well. And, with great leadership from Rollins and Utley and Howard and those guys and Hamels. And the city needed that at the time. We hadn't won a championship in a long time here in several sports. And to win one in baseball in 2008, it was much needed here in the city.
Now, were you a part of that team in any way? I know you were a coach. Were you around the organization at that time when they were competing for the championships?
No, in 2001 I had to retire because I had a torn rotator cuff, and I didn't want to have to go through all the surgery and rehab and try and come back. I was 34 at the time, and I had 3 young kids, so I decided to, hang it up and go be a dad for a while. So I was back in Indiana where I used to live with my wife and kids, and I was not a part of the organization at the time. Now, I rejoined the organization in 2011 as a minor league manager, so I missed out on the 08, 09, 2010 teams. Now, I did come occasionally to some games, and I think I made an appearance at spring training and things like that. But that was about the limitations of what I did, through that time period.
Now, a lot of people are saying in that 08 World Series, especially I think it was games 4 and 5, I can't remember, the rain games where they called it and they postponed it and all that. Do you think the Rays kind of got robbed in that World Series? Because a lot of people are saying they got robbed by the umpires letting it play too long and letting players almost get hurt.
Well, I think initially they just want to get the game in, That's the goal, is to get the game in, and then it just kept raining and raining and raining. The field conditions kept getting worse and worse, so obviously they had to do something. I do think they made the right call in waiting till everything was out of here as far as weather-wise so that they could play, good, clean baseball on a good, clean field. So, I mean, when you win a series 4-1, I don't know if you really got robbed out of winning a World Series. I do think the Phillies were a better team, and they obviously played much better in that series.
So let's get on with your career. Your first full season, you showed off your speed. You had a total of 4 triples and 13 stolen bases. What was it like what was it like getting noticed that quickly coming up to your first year in the big leagues?
Yeah, I mean, it was, I was a shortstop my whole life, and I was a shortstop up through AA. When I got to AAA, my coaches and everybody talked about it. They thought I'd be a much better second baseman. They didn't think I quite had the arm strength to play short every day at the big league level. So they asked me if I'd be all right moving to second base, and I'm sure, that's going to get me to the big leagues quicker. So I only had a year of second base experience when I first got called up. But, that first year or two of being in the big leagues was really just a learning experience for me, learning how to deal with the media and the travel and facing big league pitchers every day and playing in front of big, crowds of 30, 40,000 people. So the first few years, it took me some time to get adjusted. And finally when like 93, 94 came along, I started to feel a lot more comfortable, got more acclimated to big league pitching and everything that went around being a big leaguer. And I finally started to become a really good ball player at the major league level.
Now, I saw this. I don't think this was one of your most memorable moments, but it is a good moment in your career. Your unassisted triple play on September 20th against your rival Pirates.
Yeah.
Take us through that play, and what was going through your head when you realized that you were the only second baseman prior to the latest one that was before you, Bill Wumgonis, I don't know his name, who did it in the 1920 World Series. What was going through your head when that happened?
I always tell people, don't ever not go to a sporting event because you never know what you're going to see. So anybody that was supposed to come to that game would have seen something really unique, that's for sure. Now, I was the 9th player to do it, and there's only been 15 of them, so it's been one of the most unique things accomplished in Major League Baseball. And that goes up there with perfect games and 4 home run games and cycles and all those things. So, I was just playing the game. I mean, there were runners at first and second with no outs and full count on Jeff King, and Leland decides to send the runners. Normally you don't do that with no outs because you're afraid of the line drive and you might get double or tripled up. But he sent the runners, and Jeff King hits a line drive to my right. I dive, catch it, take a couple of steps, tramp on second, and Bonds is standing right there and tag him. I mean, the whole play lasted probably 4 or 5 seconds at most, and I was just excited that we got out of the inning. It was a tie game at the time. I think it was the 6th inning. Kurt Schilling was on the mound, and just ran back into the dugout. I threw the ball like a dummy up in the air, and I don't think I ever got it back. But I didn't realize the importance of it until after the game, when all the reporters came up to me and told me, I was the 9th guy to do it, first guy in the regular season, and all that stuff. So it was pretty unique, and I still. It's coming up. It's hard to believe it's coming up on almost 30 years since I made that play. It's really hard to believe it. Time's gone by that fast.
That's crazy. I know. I saw that day. I was like, holy crap, it's coming up. So you had the pleasure of playing for a World Series team in '93, even though you didn't win it against the Blue Jays, unfortunately, because of the Joe Carter hit. What was that experience like? And being in that World Series with a who's cast of players that you had on your squad?
Well, the experience was unbelievable. I mean, to play in a World Series was amazing. And, that's why you play this game, to be honest with you, is to get to a World Series and win a championship. And it was right on our fingertips. We just came up a little bit short. But, playing in front of 50,000 screaming fans at that stadium, it was unbelievable. And then, we beat the Braves, who had one of the best teams in baseball. I mean, they went to the playoffs 15 straight years, for crying out loud. They had Maddox, Smoltz, Glavine, Chipper Jones. I mean, they got all these Hall of Famers on the team, and And we beat them in 6 games, and then we go to the World Series, and then we got to face another team that's got like 5 Hall of Famers on them. So, we weren't expected to do much, and we were 9 innings and 2 outs short of winning a World Championship. So it was a lot of fun. Obviously, the Carter home run was very devastating to all of us because we really felt if we win Game 6, we were going to win Game 7.
Yeah, that was heartbreaking because even though I was just, I think, 2 years from being born, I saw highlights. I was like, oh, God. I wanted you guys to win it because I'm not a Blue Jay fan at all. I never was. Right. So, but yeah, you guys had a good shot. Unfortunately, you didn't win it. But just the who's who you guys had. I mean, you had Mitch Williams, John Kruk, yourself. What was it like playing with those guys? And how much of a bond did you have with those guys?
Yeah, it was a great group of guys, and really what bonded us together, it was great chemistry on that team. Now, obviously, winning allows you to have chemistry. You never see those losing teams go, yeah, we stink, but we have great chemistry. But
yeah,
we did. We had great chemistry, and it was all due to Darren Dalton, who was our catcher at the time. He had been with the Phillies for a long time. Just a great team leader. He handled all those clubhouse issues that you would have, and he took care of it. We really didn't even need a manager other than to manage the game that year because Darren was so good. But we were really close. We bonded. And I think what made that team so special, we weren't the most talented team by any means that year, but we played the game the right way. We did all the little things well. We moved runners, threw strikes. We had a good bullpen. We caught the baseball. We had 4 guys draw 100 walks. We had 4 guys score 100 runs. We could steal a base. We could do all these things to win ball games, and I think that's what made that team so special. And then and the Philly fans just, once we got off to that hot start, the fans just took on to that team and kept coming out and rooting for us, and it was an incredible year.
Now, since you spent the longest time with the Phillies and you were part of those World Series teams, when would you say the whole rebuild mode was for you guys when you played?
When I played, well, we really did. In '92, we were awful. We came in last place, and we stunk, and didn't really have a whole lot of talent on the team, to be honest with you. But Lee Thomas did a great job of going out, and instead of getting like a superstar, he got like 5 or 6 really good veteran players like Inky and Eisenreich and Milt Thompson and Danny Jackson and those types of players. And they all knew how to play the game. They were all winners. And that's what really turned that team around. And then the '94, we pretty much had the same squad and got off to a pretty good start. And then injuries popped up. Dalton got hurt, Dykstra got hurt, Schilling got hurt, and we had all these injuries, and we ended up being a really bad team again. And we really weren't good the rest of the '90s. So really '93, I can't even call it a rebuilding year. It was just one of those years where we went out, we picked up some really good free agents, and everything clicked.
Now, in '94, you lost playing time to Mariano Duncan, who played all 4 infield positions. Was there a reason why they made you lose your playing time down a little bit?
Yeah, and actually I lost my playing time early in '94, and I wasn't hitting the ball well. I was struggling at the plate, and Mariano, he was a good hitter. He was playing well. So I lost some playing time there, but after All-Star break, I started to figure some things out offensively, and I actually ended up hitting, I think, .294 that year, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. So I figured things out, and I was playing every day by the end of that year in '94. And then the strike came, right? And then, our season, everybody's season got ended short. We didn't have a World Series that year, but that was really the year where the second half of that season, where everything kind of clicked for me, and I became really an all-star type caliber player, because in '95 I made the all-star team, so things really started to click for me that second half.
Yeah, now you mentioned, I was about ready to bring that up. So would you say arguably that was your best year, was '95, when you made your only all-star roster spot?
It was probably my best year with the Phillies. It was not my best year in the big league. My best year in the big leagues was '98 with the Cubs. I had career highs in about 6 or 7 different categories in Chicago. I had a really, really good year that year, both offensively and defensively. So that would have been my best year overall. But with the Phillies, '95, I had a really good year. '97 with the Phillies, actually numbers-wise, may even have been a little bit better than 95. But, from the second half of 94 until almost 2000, I was pretty consistent. I was always up around 280, 290. I always caught the baseball, took a lot of pride in my defense, and the last 5 or 6 years of my career, I felt like I was an all-star caliber type player.
What was it like playing in that all-star game? Because I saw that you went with 4 other of your compadres on your roster. How was it playing alongside them in your only all-star game? And
that was pretty awesome. When you walk into a clubhouse and it's got Piazza and Barry Bonds and Biggio and Bagwell and Bonilla and all these superstars. It was pretty incredible. So you're just sitting there at your locker and you're just looking at all the other players' names and just kind of taking it all in. But that was a weird all-star game because we ended up winning 3-2, but we only had 3 hits that whole all-star game, and they were all solo home runs. So it was pretty awesome. I actually thought in 98 when I was with the Cubs, I was hitting 327 at All-Star break and really thought that there was no way I wasn't going to go to the All-Star game that year. And unfortunately, I think Biggio got voted in. And then
he did.
And I think it was the Brewers that needed a player because everybody had to be represented. The only good player on the Brewers at that time was Fernando Vina. So they ended up taking him, and I got snubbed. So that was very disappointing in 98.
Now, since you were part of the All-Star team, did you watch the festivities of the Home Run Derby? And what was that like, watching them hit these Grandmaster home runs and filled out crowd? I mean, it's awesome just watching it on TV, but it's one thing witnessing it right there on the field like you did. What was that like?
It was incredible. I mean, those guys are so strong and so powerful. Some of those guys hit more home runs in that home run derby than I had in my 11-year career. So, but yeah, those guys, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. The fans loved it, obviously. And that's kind of just when it kind of started becoming big, that home run derby thing. But we had a blast, that's for sure. And actually, the night before, they had a big amusement park there in Texas, in Arlington, and the MLB rented it out just for the players and families. So we had a night out at the amusement park with our families and kids. It was pretty awesome.
So you said you guys won on 3 home runs. That's weird. That's a weird outcome, don't you think? You don't ever see that hardly.
No. Especially in All-Star games. I know Biggio hit one. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know who the other 2 were. But yeah, it's pitching usually dominates the All-Star games because the pitching's so dominant, and it really dominated us too. We were just fortunate enough to get 3 out of the ballpark. But it was nice to that's back in the day when you really cared about winning the All-Star game, and guys gave effort and they wanted to be on the team. And
I miss those days.
It's a little different, but it was fun.
I miss those days because that's when you got to go. Whoever won it, either AL or NL, would have the home field advantage. I miss those days. Nowadays, we just don't care.
Yeah, we took it seriously. We wanted to win, and we were excited when we did win. That's for sure.
So your defense throughout your career earned you the nickname Dandy Little Glove Man. How did that come about? Please, enthusiasts, how did you get that?
That was a Chicago thing. That's when I went to the Cubs in 98. Now, another thing that I felt in 98, I thought I deserved a gold glove. I only had 5 errors that entire year. I think my fielding percentage was like 992. It was really high. And once again, I got snubbed for that. But, I was playing really good defense. I was making diving plays. I was turning the double play well, making the routine play. And Steve Stone and Chip Carey, who were the TV announcers then, just came up with that Dandy Little Glove Man. And it stuck. And, I played there for 2 years. It stuck for 2 years. And I still have some Chicago fans, when I see them, they remember that. They still call me the Dandy Little Glove Man. So it's pretty cool.
Do you still ever go and watch the Cubs, or were you there when they won the first World Series in 2016?
I was not there in 2016. I had already moved out here. I was coaching with the Phillies, but I did go to a few games. Was it 08 when they blew it? I think it was 08.
It was 08 when they blew it.
Loomis that catch down the line. I was actually at that game.
03. 03.
Was 03?
Yeah. Against the Marlins.
I was actually at that game with my family, so that was pretty cool. But I haven't been back to Chicago in a while. I used to go. They used to have a big Cubs convention in the winter that I always attended. It's just a kind of a prelude to the opening of spring training, and all the fans would come out. It was at a hotel there, and all the players would come out and sign autographs and take photos and things like that. But I haven't been back there in a while, so hopefully I can get back there sometime soon.
So yeah, like you said, you were traded to the Cubs for Doug Glanville, and you played there for 2 years. Clearly, what was it like playing with Sammy Sosa and watching him hit those massive home runs? Did you think, as a player, that something was kind of up, that he was juicing and other players were juicing?
To be honest with you, it wasn't really talked about much. It really wasn't. You just came to work and did your business, and it was fun to watch. It was fun to be a part of. I'm not going to lie to you. Watching him and McGuire go back and forth, especially in September. You'd go to every ballpark and they'd have a McGuire and a Sosa thing on the scoreboard, and you'd see McGuire's home run total get flipped from 52 to 53, and then Sammy hit one, and they just kept going back and forth. And part of the reason I think I had a career year that year was I hit in front of Sammy, so I saw a lot of good pitches, saw a lot of fastballs, got on base a lot, and then let Sammy do his thing. But like I said, the steroid stuff was not talked about in the clubhouse. People did it. If they did do it, they did it on their own, and it was kept a secret. And to this day, we still don't know a lot of the players that did or didn't do it. There was that, the thing that came out that had some players on that list, but I'm sure there's a lot more out there that were doing it. And but it is what it is. I know I wasn't on steroids because I only hit 32 home runs, so it wasn't me.
As a player, though, did you think he was, though, honestly, with how big he was, or do you think he just worked out to get that?
Well, when a player's, weighs 180 and he comes back to spring training and he's 240, obviously it's more than just lifting a few weights over the winter. So, yeah, you knew when guys put on an extreme amount of weight or muscle that something was going on. But like I said, it really wasn't illegal at the time, especially, at least in the baseball sense of it. So nobody really... And our game needed a boost at the time because of the strike.
Right.
People weren't coming out to see baseball because they were bitter about the strike. So the game needed something to draw the fans back, and that McGuire-Sosa battles, that did it. That brought all the fans back, and obviously baseball's been very good since then.
Yeah, I agree with that. So
until analytics,
I agree.
Then the game started to go bad again.
Right. Like you said, you were on the in your '98 season. You were on the MVP balloting, and you came 24th on the list to Javi Lopez, tied with your, as you said, your average, your RBIs, home runs. I know you got snubbed because yes, that is a good season, but who do you think who won it that year deserved to win it?
The Gold Glove?
No, the MVP.
Who won it in '98? Was it Sammy?
I think so, yes.
I think Sammy won in '98. Yes. Absolutely, he deserved. I mean, it was unbelievable. When you had 66 homers, and I think he drove in close to 140 or 150 runs.
Yeah.
And he had, and it was the first time the Cubs had been in the playoffs forever. So yeah, he absolutely deserved it. He was consistent all year. He played hard, and he was definitely the MVP, no question about it.
What do you remember most about your time with the Cubbies, besides going to the divisional round, being close to the MVP? What do you remember most about being with them in that tenure?
I just think that the atmosphere. Playing day games. I enjoyed playing day games. I loved getting up in the morning, driving to the ballpark, playing a day game, and then I had the whole evening with my family, like a normal 8 to 5 worker, So I loved playing at Wrigley. The field was awesome. The fans were awesome.
Wrigley's one of my all-time favorite fields, and fortunate enough for me, I always hit good in Wrigley as a road player, so it was a fun park to hit in for me. I enjoyed it.
Now, how brutal were those fields back in the day with the tough turf? How rough was that playing on those fields compared
on
to
the
grass?
turf fields?
Yeah, on the turf fields.
Turf fields, I mean, it took its toll on your body. There's no question about that. But, turf fields, for me, it was kind of conducive to my game because I was a ground ball, line drive hitter. And when you hit that ball on the turf, you might get a lot more hits than you would on say, in Wrigley where there's some thick grass. So, I didn't mind playing on turf. It did take its toll on my legs. I did have a lot of, groin strains and hamstring strains from going from grass to turf, things like that. But and diving on the turf took its toll on your body. You get those scrapes on your body a lot, and the heat of the turf could be a problem at times. But for me, it fit well into the game that I played.
Who'd you enjoy going up playing the most? Any rivalries that you enjoyed playing with, because obviously you were with the Phillies, you had the rivals of the Atlanta Braves and the Mets, who were good at the time, and the Cubs. You had, of course, Cardinals and Mark McGwire. Out of those rivalries, which would you say did you enjoy playing the most against?
Well, I enjoyed playing against the Braves the most because I had the most success, believe it or not, off Braves pitching. Like, I own Maddox. I hit over 340 off Maddox. I hit over 300 off Smoltz. I hit close to 300 off Glavine. So I was a lot of people don't know this, but Old Turner Field, I had the best batting average of any road player coming into Turner Field in the history of Turner Field. So I had a lot of success against that Braves pitching staff, and it kind of carried over into the playoffs in '93. I had some big hits, especially off Maddox. But I'd say that was our biggest rivalry back in the day, just because the Braves were so good. They went to the playoffs 15 straight years. The Mets weren't usually very good at that time, '93 especially. And as you said, the Cubs' biggest rivalry obviously was the Cardinals.
By far.
Sure. Yeah.
Because they were the only ones being good in that division. The Reds weren't nothing. The Brewers weren't nothing. And sure as heck, as we talked about earlier, the Pirates weren't nothing.
Yeah, the Pirates had that stretch from 90 to 92 where they were, really good. But then Barry left for, in 93, and they started to go downhill from there. But, the Cardinals were the cream of the crop in that division for a number of years, and we kind of overtook them there in '93 or '98, at least for a year.
So you played about 1,300 games. Looking back at your career, do you think it was a successful one? Do you think you have? I know you won't have a shot at making it into the Hall of Fame, but do you think you could have made more All-Star appearances than you did?
Well, I think I had the best career I could have. I mean, I didn't throw the hardest, I didn't run the fastest, I didn't hit the ball the farthest, that type of thing. But, I think I got the most out of my ability for 11 years. I played the game the right way. I played hard. I think the only thing I can look back on and be a little bit disappointed were the things that were out of my control, and that was the voting for the All-Star game.
Right.
I definitely deserved to be there in '98.
Right.
Probably deserved to be there in '97 as well. And the Gold Glove. I mean, every year I led the league in fielding percentage, probably for 6 or 7 years, and never won a Gold Glove. So that was a little confusing to me. Like I said, especially in '98, because a lot of times Gold Glove guys aren't necessarily the best fielders, but sometimes they're the best hitters that get the award. And I do remember in '98, Brett Boone hit like 40 homers that year, and he ended up winning the Gold Glove, and he had over 12. I think he had 12 errors that year to my 5. So, those two things were disappointing me. And the only other, I wasn't a big goal guy because I thought, setting goals kind of puts a lot of pressure on you. I just wanted to go out and be the best I could be every night. But as I played longer and longer for the Phillies, I was starting to creep up on the all-time games played at second base. Tony Taylor had the record. I think it was maybe a little bit over 1,000 or 1,100 games he had played, and I only needed like a couple hundred more And when the Phillies traded me the first time, I was about 180 games away from it. So that was disappointing. But I came back in 2000, and I thought maybe I had a chance to get that record. And, I was about, maybe 100 games, 80 games shy of it. And they traded me again, so I never got to break that. Now, Chase came along and, whooped us all. But it would have been nice to hold that games played at second base record, at least for a little bit.
Now, like you said, after you left the Cubs, you were signed by Montreal, but never got to play with them. And then they sold your rights over to the Phillies, I think, right?
Yeah, I think I actually got traded for Rob Ducey, I think.
Yeah, you did, to the Blue Jays.
Or something like that. But the Phillies were key on Marlon Anderson as their second baseman, and the year before he really struggled, so they were looking to have a veteran presence come in. So I went from Montreal right at the end of spring training in Montreal and got traded back to the Phillies in 2000, and I played. That was Terry Francona's first year managing here. And, that was his last year managing here. But I came back and played. We were supposed to be really good that year. I mean, we had Roland and Stalker, we had Roland and Desi Relaford and myself and Rico Bronia, and then we had a great outfield. We had Bobby Abreu, Glanville, and
I can't think of the other one, but I know who you're talking about too. I can't think of his name.
Pat Burrell.
Yes.
And we had Lieberthal as our catcher, and we had Schilling, and we had Andy. I mean, we had all these really good players, and we just couldn't put it together. So in August of that year, I got traded to Toronto, who was being managed by Jim Fregosi, who was our Phillies manager for a long time. So, it worked out good. I had a chance to go up there and try and get back to the playoffs. We came up a little bit short, but, Toronto's actually a neat little city. It's right there on the lake. It's a beautiful city, clean city. So I had some fun up there for a couple months.
Now, like you said, when you played that year before you got traded, you had a who's who of players. Why do you think you guys couldn't get to that plateau of going to the World Series? Was it because of injuries, playoff?
Which year are you talking about? The 2000 year?
Yeah.
I don't know why we didn't put it together. It was really perplexing to me because we were very talented. I think guys underperformed. Ashby didn't pitch that well, and I don't remember if Kurt got hurt that year or not. But Kurt wasn't Kurt normal, his normal self, and just guys were underperforming. And I don't know, Scott Rowland kind of wanted, that kind of during that time when he wasn't real happy playing in Philadelphia, and so it just, things just didn't work out. There's a lot of good teams in baseball that just don't play. I mean, we're looking at a team right now here in Philadelphia that they've got a lot of talent. And, they just need to clean some things up, their defense and their bullpen. If they can clean those two things up, they got a shot to get back to the playoffs. But if they don't clean those two things up, they're not gonna have a shot.
Right. Did you know though, after you got traded to the Blue Jays that year in 2000, that was going to be one of your final years of playing in the majors?
I mean, I knew I was coming close to the end. I didn't want to retire yet. I wanted to play a couple more years. At that point, I had probably about 10 and a half years in. I wanted to play a couple more years, and it didn't matter where. I just wanted to play a couple more years. But I came to spring training in 2001 with the Blue Jays. I came back with the Blue Jays, and had some shoulder problems, and I went and got an MRI and ended up being a tear in my rotator cuff. So, like I said before, I didn't want to have to go through a year's rehab, have the surgery, and then try and come back as a 35-year-old utility guy or whatever. Plus, I had 3 young kids. So I just decided that, I played almost 11 years. It's been a great career. It's time to hang it up and go be a dad.
There you go. I agree with you on that. You, unfortunately, like you said, you went through, along with the other players you played with, went through the 94 strike. What was that experience like, and will we see another strike happen in MLB ever again?
I hope not, because the fans are coming out now, and I do think with the money that both the owners and the players are making right now, to strike, and it would really set a bad example for both sides. So I hope there's never a strike like that again, because I do think, I don't know if the game would be able to rebound for a long time from that. But, for us in '94, it was frustrating as a player, because and I don't remember all the specifics of it, because I was still kind of young at the time. And, but it was frustrating, because here I am, a young player trying to establish myself, and I think it was my third full year in the big leagues, and now, I'm not making a lot of money yet, and now we have to strike, and then the '95 season's got a chance to have some issues with it. So it was really frustrating at the time. But fortunately enough, we got it all ironed out over the winter and came back. I think the season might have started a few weeks late, but we all came back. And like I said, it took a long time to get the fans back like we had them. It actually took till the McGuire-Sosa home run battle, so almost 4 years to get those fans back.
Now, we got a little bit into that earlier. Do you think at the time nobody knew about it, of course, the steroid era and all that? Did that really, do you think in your mind that's what really helped the game of baseball come back to what it was? Unfortunately, nowadays it's not like that, because like you said, it's analytics. But do you think that's what got the fans loving the game of baseball even more, was the home run battles, the so-called steroid era? Do you think that's what changed the game?
Yeah, I think the tick in offense helped a lot, especially the home run. There's no question the McGuire-Sosa home run battle was the start of it, and then you got the Barry Bonds chasing the record, and you had some superstars that were fun to watch. Randy Johnson, Curt Schilling, Pedro Martinez, Roger Clemens, and then you have Ken Griffey Jr. and Sosa and McGuire and all, A-Rod and all these superstars. I think that was a big part of getting the game back on track. But definitely the McGuire-Sosa home run battle was the start of it.
Now, what do you make of that whole Congress hearing in '05? I know everybody heard of it. It made national news. Do you think that was embarrassing for the game, was having those players on stage like that and refusing to answer those questions about the steroids and all that? Do you think that was embarrassing for the game, having them on stage like that?
Well, it was embarrassing for those players that weren't talking, for sure. I mean, here you are sitting in front of the nation, and you're saying, I don't have any comments. So I think it was embarrassing for those players, but it was a tough situation, and like I said, we don't know who did. We know some who did, but and we suspect others did, but we'll never know the true story behind all of it for sure. And like I said, at the time we were playing, it was not an illegal thing to do as far as baseball is concerned. So, I know a lot of Hall of Famers and players that didn't take steroids obviously have an opinion on it, and others. I feel that Barry Bonds is a Hall of Famer. I know he probably did steroids, but he's the greatest player I ever played against. I mean, he was unbelievable. He was probably one of the top players ever to play the game, not just in the '90s and 2000s. So everybody's got their opinion about it, and and it doesn't look like most of the steroid guys are going to get into the Hall of Fame, and for me, that's probably a little bit of a shame.
That's what I was just about to ask you, but you pretty much just answered it. Do you think, honestly, in your heart, they should be in the Hall of Fame, with knowing that they did that, and they weren't really testing for that back in the day? Do you think they honestly should be in the Hall of Fame?
I do, because I need some sort of science that says they weren't going to be nearly as good without it, I guess, is the thing. Like Barry Bonds was an unbelievable player before he started getting big, and Roger Clemens was a hell of a pitcher before he started doing what he did, and a lot of these guys
were just really good before they started doing that. So, how many more home runs did Barry Bonds hit because of it? I don't know. We'll never know. And because of that, I think he deserves to be in. That's just my opinion. I know there's probably millions of just hammer me for saying that, but
I agree.
He was a special player with or without.
I mean, you witnessed most of those guys that were accused. You played against them, so you should know. I mean,
right. And it wouldn't surprise me, to be honest with you, if some of the guys that were voted in did it too.
Right.
It wouldn't surprise me. So it is what it is.
So nowadays game, like we would talk about the analytics, I think it sucks, just like you do. As a former player, I mean, this definitely has to ache you, especially the managers that still have that old school mentality of these days, like the Verusa and all that. They have to hate it as well. Why in the world are we doing this now? Why are we doing analytics? Why? What's the point of it?
Well, it's a science that people have come up with, and a lot of people believe in it. If you look at the GMs and the managers in baseball right now, most of them are young. There's very few old school managers and GMs now, so this is the new wave, and this is what they believe in. And there's parts of analytics that help. There's no question about it. I just think it's way too much information. I think it has made the game boring. I think our commissioner is making the game unwatchable with some of the things that he's implementing into the game. And I'm just really tired of watching a baseball game and seeing either a walk, a strikeout, or a home run. I'm just really tired of it. And it's really hard for me to watch 9 innings of a ball game now. So I'll watch a couple innings, I'll turn it off, might turn it back on or check the score on the phone, and that's really it. And until we start manufacturing runs and playing the game the way it was supposed to be played, the way fans liked it to be played, with bunting guys and hit and running and stealing bases and suicide squeezes and things like that, I think it's going to be hard to watch. I think there's a lot of people out there that agree with me.
Do you think we'll get back to that, though? Do you think the commissioner will get off his ass and change it?
I think at some point, I don't think anytime soon it's going to change. But I do think, I think the strikeout part of it is starting to annoy some people. So I think there was a point maybe 2 or 3 years ago where nobody cared in the baseball world if someone struck out or not. I think that's starting to change. But until we do something with the shifts, or we teach these hitters to hit away from the shifts, it's going to be the same. It cracks me up how you can put 4 guys on the right side and I can't find a hitter that can hit the ball on the left side. So that is amazing to me. But, the 3-pitcher minimum for a reliever needs to go.
Yes.
I don't like the extra inning rule. Now, I know the extra inning rule is working. The only reason they're doing it is to shorten up the games, and it's done that. I get it. They don't want to play the 20-inning games and have these bullpens worn out where you have to bring in position players. So the rule is working. I just don't like it.
I don't like it either. I agree.
I'm not a fan of replay. I understand we want to get the call right, but I like the human element of baseball. Please don't ever go to a strike zone with a computer.
Right.
I'll stop watching completely at that.
That's what they're talking about, yeah, because they've already started in minor leagues.
I know. They're taking every human element of this game away, and it's really making it boring.
It is. So let's get back to the Phillies nowadays. Like you said, bullpen and defense needs a lot of help to get them to where they need to be. What do you think of Bryce Harper? Do you think that deal that he signed will ultimately hurt the Phillies or help the Phillies in the end?
I don't think it's going to hurt the Phillies. In the long run, 5 or 6 years from now, that $25 million is probably going to be peanuts in this baseball world. So I don't think that signing is going to hurt them at all. We need to deepen our minor league system.
and we need to learn how to catch the baseball, and we need bullpen guys that are dependable. And until we do those three things, I think we're still going to struggle a little bit. But we've got some pieces in place. I mean, we've got the catcher, we've got the third baseman. We got the right fielder, we got Nola, we got Wheeler, we got Eflin. So we've got some pieces in place here. We just we need some young guys to come up that are cost efficient, so that we can go out and either trade for, and have a good minor league system where you can trade for somebody that we need, or bring up a minor leaguer that can help right away, those types of things. And, hopefully we can do that within the next year or two, because, Nola's not getting any younger, and Wheeler's going to be 30, and Bryce's going to be close to 30. So some of these guys are, they're in the peak of their careers right now. So we got to win right now.
With the trade deadline looming, who do you think they're aiming for or trying to get?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be sellers. I really don't. I mean, we're winning right now, so if we win tonight, we have a chance to only be 3.5 games out or something like that. So there's no way they're going to sell unless we fall way out within the next 2 weeks or whatever it is. So I think they've got to try and go out and get a bullpen piece at the back end there. I don't know if we have enough in the minor league system to go out and trade for a closer. I don't know. But if you can get a solid closer, and then that makes Alvarado, or whatever you say his name.
Your closer,
a good 8-inning guy. Maybe a Nearest and Bradley, good 7-inning guy. And guys can start falling into better roles. Like right now, we don't know who the closer is because we're kind of rotating here. We don't know who the 7th inning or 8th inning guy is because we don't have anybody that can consistently close out the game. So if we could get someone in that 9th inning that we can depend on, everybody can learn their role, and I think that bullpen would be a lot better.
Is there a player in today's game, either on your team or any other on any other teams, that reminds you of your game when you played?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't watch a lot of teams other than the Phillies, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. I don't watch a lot of baseball in general because of the way it's played right now. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I can answer that, to be honest with you.
What about on the Phillies then, since you said you watched the Phillies? Is there a player that reminds you of you?
I don't know if anybody really has my game because, my game was bunting and hitting, running, and stealing a base and catching the baseball. I don't know if they have anybody that does those things right now. Everybody swings away and tries to hit home runs. Probably 4 years ago, I would have said Scott Kingery would have been that guy because in the minor leagues, he was that guy. He bunted for hits, he stole bases, he caught the baseball. He made things happen, and then he got to the big leagues and hit a few home runs, changed his swing, and he became a completely different player. So I'll say Scott Kingery 4 years ago.
There you go. So we got 7 minutes left with you. So basically, tell us, what are you doing nowadays? Are you doing anything? Do you think you might be able to get into announcing if you wanted to? Is that a thing possible? Because you said you've done that in the past. What are you doing nowadays?
Yeah, I'm the Phillies team ambassador. So what that means is I just do a lot of appearances for the organization, kind of the face of the organization. Mm. I visit schools, hospitals, do things out in the community. I'll go to a lot of Phillies home games and visit suites and fans and sponsors and hang out and watch the game with them. I play in charity golf tournaments, those types of things. So I stay really busy. They do a great job of filling up my schedule. And to be honest with you, it's a great gig. I meet a lot of great people, and most of it is fun stuff, so it's something I'm really enjoying.
There you go. That's the main thing.
Yep.
Did you have, at one point in time in your career, though, did you want to be a broadcaster?
First I wanted to be a big league manager, and I was kind of on my way. I managed in the minor leagues, and I got to the big leagues as a first base coach about 5 years ago or so. But with the change in personnel as far as this analytics is concerned, and a lot of times to get a big league managing job nowadays, it's who you know.
And I don't know a lot of these young GMs or young managers, so I don't know if that opportunity has kind of flown by the wayside for me. But that was my first thing. Now I did do a couple of interviews for the broadcasting gig when they hired Matt Stairs and Jamie Moyer. I did some interviewing and tried to become a broadcaster, but those two guys went out on the job. So it's still something I could consider for sure.
Any players or former players that you've played with or talked to, are any of them that you're still close with that you talk to?
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, we do Phillies Fantasy Camp in Florida every January, and I see a lot of guys down there. Stalker, obviously Crucky, Ricky Jordan, Danny Jackson, Duncan, a lot of 93 guys. So I keep in touch with them down there for that. Dave Hollins. Now up here, I do a lot of camps and clinics with Milt Thompson and Tommy Green and Dickie Knowles. So those are the guys, and Larry Boa. Those are the guys that still live in the area. So I see those guys quite often.
Now, do you think the Phillies have the right manager today? I think it's Girardi, correct? He's the manager of former Yankees, who led the Yankees to a couple World Series. Do you think he will ultimately win a World Series with the Phillies?
Well, I hope so. I think Joe's a good manager. I think he is. He's ran into some. The players are what make the manager look good, and if you're making lineup changes or you're making bullpen changes and they're not getting people out, I guess ultimately it falls on the manager, but for me it falls on the players. And if the players aren't performing, there's not a whole lot a manager can do. I know Joe's tried a lot of different things in that bullpen. He's brought in different people. He's tried to close with different people, and nothing seems to work. And I don't know if that's a manager's fault. I don't think it is. It's more on the players. So I think our players just need to perform better. And if they do, and like I said, if we can get another reliever to close out games and start catching the baseball. We have to catch the baseball. If we can do that, I think we'll be right in the thick of things in September.
Do you think he's one that'll bring back the old style game? Because that's why ultimately he left the Yankees, was because he feuded with the Steinbrenners because they wanted him to adjust to analytics.
Right.
Now that he's with the Phillies, do you think he'll help them adjust to the old style game?
Well, this organization right now is an analytics organization. I mean, we probably have 50 employees that are all analytics driven. So I don't know if they're going to let Joe be the guy that kind of steers away from analytics. So I think Joe is kind of does both. I think he pays attention to the analytics part, but I think he also a lot of times manages from a gut feeling. And so hopefully, there's a balance there that I think he does a pretty good job with.
So last question of the night for you. I know it's early. I ask this to all my guests I have. Who do you got in the World Series, and who do you got winning it?
Yeah. Well, it's really hard to go against the Dodgers because they're so damn talented and they have so much talent in their minor league system. So I'm going to say the Dodgers. Again, I'm kind of getting tired of the Dodgers being in it, but
same.
They're good. They're good, and they're not afraid to go out and get pieces to help them either.
I agree.
In the American League, that's a little more of a toss-up for me. I'm trying to think. So, I'm going to go. That's a good call. I'm going to go with the Red Sox.
That's a good one.
I don't know why I'm going with the Red Sox, but the Red Sox, they've put things together. They're playing really good baseball. Their pitching staff's been good. So let's go with the Red Sox Dodgers World Series. How's that?
I like that one. That's awesome. I appreciate your time. Thank you, Mr. Morandini, for coming on. I appreciate it. I'd like to have you on as many times as you want. Now I have your contact info.
There you go.
I'll be texting you here and there. I appreciate it, and it was awesome. I'll send you a copy of the episode, but it was awesome. Thank you for coming on again.
Well, you're welcome. I appreciate it. And have a great 4th, and
Same to you. Same to you. Take care. And I'm going to say something for you. Go Phillies.
Go Phillies. We got to hold on to this 4-2 lead. Let's see if we can. Let's cross our fingers.
There you go. All right.
Let's see it.
See ya. Have a good night.
You too.